Is anybody else? Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. ¿Cómo están todos? Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you are all well. We are gonna work it with a bunch of stuff with dar and with, with verbs that are like gustar, but we're gonna focus a little bit more on the dar side of it and the parecer side of it, and a little bit of everything in between. I want to open first though, asking if you guys have any questions before we open on anything you read, saw, lo que sea, whatever it may be. Juanita, dime.
Sí, pregunta. So when you say something is like gustar, are you saying that there's only a da and a dan with dar? Or because I'm a little confused. I know I looked at that video again
Yes.
with Cody and what's her name?
Maria.
Maria.
And Maria, yeah.
Maria, Cody y Maria. And I'm not sure when you use dar as da and dan, like some of this me da igual, me da miedo, it gives me fear. I would guess you would only use the da.
It's,
but then,
yeah, okay.
Like use the dan and then me da lo mismo, no dar paí con bola. Are those just the da only? And then, you get into the me da plus a noun. Would that be a me dan? Except it's not anger. It would be anger, not angers, more than one anger. Unless I guess you're really pissed, then you would use don. I don't know. I mean, so I don't get it when something.
The more you make it plural, the angrier you are. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. When I say don, Federico. So it's like, yeah, I'm confused. Some of these expressions using dar versus like gustar, and I tend to put stuff in boxes in my head. So,
right.
The shoe boxes are really a mess right now. So
right. Okay. And Tomas had Tomas last week had like the burning question. Well, wait a minute. What do we do with that? Should it be done? And of course, the said truth is going to be depende. It depends a little bit, but often, not 100%, but often with dar in particular. Some of these things with dar are just kind of phrases that they just use da. Okay, so a lot of them, but dar can go into dan. So all of these verbs are going to be verbs that basically are going to be used in just those two conjugations. Okay. And let me get into the right. Clicked on the wrong thing, which of course does not help. So I gave you guys a Nearpod to look at. And a lot of you posted little things where you used these expressions. Let's back up a little bit, because most of you understand that it's gustan, right? Okay. So now we're going to look at kind of at the big picture, and then we're going to focus more on dar and on parecer, because those are the two kind of oddballs of the group. So what I want to do is take a look at this again with you so that you see, wow, can I get rid of all this other stuff? Yes, I can. Cleverly, yes, I can get rid of all this other stuff. Okay. Oh, and of course, got another spelling thing. Something. Got to go in there and put my E in. Okay. So let's look at just everything a la izquierda, everything on the left, what these are going to look like. These are going to look like two verb forms, and really you're going to be using them just in two verb forms. Encanta, encantan. That's it. Molesta, molestan. Boom. That's it. Interesa, interesan. That's it. Cae bien, caen bien. That's it. Duele, duelen. That's it. Parece, parecen. Now, hold on to that one. Parecer is used in a lot of different ways. And here's where you need to look at the whole context of the whole sentence. Parecer can be used in all of its forms. It can be used reflexively to say that you look like somebody genetically or, well, or non-genetically, you know, if you were dressed the same. But, you know, to have expressions like, por ejemplo, como por ejemplo, me parezco a mi mamá, I look like my mom. Okay, so parecer can be used in all of its forms, depending on its meaning, or it can be used just as parece, parecen. But it depends on what you want to say. If you're describing how something seems to you, in other words, what opinion you have about something, it'll be just parece and parecen, and that's it. Okay. If you use parecer to say that something seems, you know, wow, you seem tired. Pareces muy cansado, meaning you look a certain way. Then you'll use all those forms of parecer. But if I say, well, these ads, ¿qué te parecen los anuncios? How do those ads seem to you? What do you think? Somebody, ¿cómo te parece? Or ¿cómo te parecen? Somebody's asking, what do you think about that? They're not using the word think, but they're asking, what do you think? Because they're asking, how do they seem to you? So they're asking about your personal opinion. ¿Cómo? Tengo una cerveza nueva. I've got a new beer. ¿Cómo te parece? What do you think about that new beer? How does it seem to you? Does it taste good? They're asking for your opinion. ¿Cómo te parece el nuevo o la nueva cerveza? How does that new beer brand seem to you? They want to know what you think about it, okay? But know that parecer is one of those things that can be used in all 6 forms, but they might be using it just as the double form like gustar. And how do you know? Because como te parece, como te parece. How does it seem to you? So the little clue is going to be that pronoun that comes before the verb. They don't match up, right? Me parezco, I look like somebody. The verb parezco, a yo form, matches the me pronoun. But if I've got parece, it seems, with a me, a te, a nos in front of it, a le, it's asking how something seems to somebody, what their opinion is of something. Okay?
So the parece would mean that it's a singular something, a beer.
A singular something.
All this group of food would be parecen.
Right. If I've got a plural set of foods, like if I have a tray of all different kinds of cheeses, I'm serving cheese and crackers, right? It's a holiday thing. I've got all different kinds of cheeses, and I say, but they're all different types, right? ¿Cómo te parecen los quesos?
Okay.
How do all these cheeses seem to you? Because you have different flavors of them. Because I mean, I've got different flavors. What do you think about these? And it's more than one kind of flavor, so I'm distinguishing between them. Okay. So that might have it. Fascinar fascinar will be fascina, fascinan. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so we had all of our examples there. Let's find an example with, we're going to come back to parecer, like with nos interesa. Nos interesa este museo. This museum interests us. No nos interesan tus problemas. Your problems don't interest us. Meaning we just don't care. All right. So a lot of these verbs are used just in those two forms. And it's the pronoun that you say before the verb that pertains to how that affects the person, right? Who does it affect? Okay. And a lot of you did post some thoughts. I mostly gave you some feedback on that.
Yes, I
Now, the reason these can get a little tricky is that sometimes some of those verbs, especially dar and especially parecer, those two verbs in particular are often used in all their 6 forms, but then it's in a slightly different context. Okay, so we're going to take a look at, how shall we approach this? Let's take a look at, we're going to have a video with somebody talking just about dar. Now, the reason you're going to know dar is being used not in the usual give definition is because when we use dar as you use gustar, just da or dan. When you're using dar that way, we're often talking about an emotional reaction. Whereas if I use dar any other way, I'm talking about giving an actual thing to somebody. I'm giving my keys, I'm giving a credit card, I'm giving something. I'm giving somebody help. It can even be something, abstract, like I'm giving help to somebody. Okay, but sometimes we use dar like we use gustar. So she's going to give you some examples of when this is used. This may answer your question. If it doesn't, we'll come back to it momentarily. We hope this is going to start. ¿Qué pasa? Un momentito. Let's stop sharing and see why I've got an internet issue going on. Let's try. We're going to try refresh worked. Let's try that one more time. Una vez más. Una vez más.
¿Qué tal? Soy Paula de Speak Spanish with Paula, and today you'll learn 3 different ways to express your feelings or emotions by using the verb dar, to give. And by the way, it's an irregular verb in the yo form. It's not yo do, but yo doy. And the rest are conjugated as a regular AR verb. Tú das, él da, nosotros damos, vosotros dais, ellos, ustedes dan. All right? We use these expressions in everyday conversation all of the time. Just saying. The first one is dar nervios. Dar nervios. Don't even try to translate it because it doesn't make sense.
Give nerves? What are you talking about?
I told you it doesn't make sense, so nervios mean nerves. When something te da nervios, you get a feeling along the lines of fear and worry.
Okay, let's stop for a minute because Tomas asked, rightly so, Tomas, why is that not done? Or at least he was thinking that. The gears in his brain were busy going, wait a minute, nervios is more than one. Why is that not done? what you're saying with this is that it gives me nerves. It gives me this, the shakies. Okay, so you're talking about a situation. And a situation is always going to dictate it's me da, te da, le da, le da. Okay. So let's hear what she says with that with an example.
Let's imagine you see a child riding a bike for the first time and he's not very skillful yet. You could say, me da nervios verlo.
It makes me nervous to look at him. It makes me nervous to watch him. And we're talking about the situation of watching him riding a bike and you're afraid he's going to fall and you're una mama, okay? And it's just got you on edge. So they're not talking about the bike making you nervous. We're talking about that whole situation. So it's just me da. It's just me da. Okay?
Me da nervios verlo. Me da nervios que se caiga.
Oh, look at what she threw in here. Me da nervios que se caiga. It makes me nervous that, a different way of expressing it, but you're expressing the exact same idea using different words. Not just it makes me nervous to watch, it makes me nervous that he might fall down. And we inserted the word que. So now we're inserting que, that something might happen. But it's always me da nervios because it's still, this situation is giving me kind of the creepy shakes.
Me da nervios que se caiga. So you feel kind of worried that he falls down. It's not actually fear, but it makes you nervous, right? Or maybe a friend of yours have to give a presentation and he doesn't like to speak in public. You could say, a él le da nervios hablar en público.
And again, it's a situation. Doing this thing makes me nervous. So it's just da. But the pronoun in front tells who's getting nervous. A él le da nervios. You can leave off the a él. If you already know you're talking about one specific person, you can just say le da nervios. The a él just makes it more specific. Oh, we're talking about him, not her, not you, a usted. That's all. Okay.
A él le da nervios hablar en público. Él se pone nervioso.
That's just a different way of saying it makes him nervous. Se pone nervioso. It's just a different way. It's not using dar. So we're going to skip over this.
Él se pone nervioso. That's another way to say.
But notice, it's not nervios, nerves. It's nervioso, nervous. Nervioso is an adjective. Nervios is not an adjective. So when you watched that thing with Maria and Cody riding in the car, and she corrected him at one point, and I think he did use nervioso, and she went, no, nervios. Me da, te da, le da. With these things, when we talk about emotions, the word after dar is some kind of a noun. Not nervioso that you see on the screen right now, nervous, an adjective. It's a noun. So, me da miedo, fear. Me da rabia, anger. Me da nervios, nerves, because every little nerve on your, your neural network is going off. Okay. So with nervioso, we don't use dar. We use a different kind of verb.
Say it,
Okay.
but using the verb poner. That's another lesson.
That's
okay?
another lesson, yes.
The second one, dar rabia.
Ooh, muy común. Here's the I'm ticked off word.
Dar rabia. When you see a dog foaming at the mouth, it means it got a virus called rabia.
The word rabies comes from this same root way back in Latin. No joke. Rabies comes from the same thing as rabia. And we all know the old saying, you know, mad dogs. Ooh, yeah. Well, yeah, because that used to be a thing. Rabia is anger, frothing at the mouth. That produces a real picture, doesn't it? Yeah, rabia, anger.
Rabies. It's an illness, right? But we're not talking about the illness. We're talking about expressing feelings and emotions. So when something te da rabia, it means that you get a little bit angry. It's not as strong as getting mad or furious. That's another level. But it means that you get upset, disappointed, that something really bothers you. Let's imagine you have an appointment and you go to the place on time, but there's nobody there. You have to wait, so you've been waiting for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and people are still delayed. You could say, me da rabia la gente que no llega a tiempo.
People who don't arrive on time make me angry. Tick me off. Okay? Okay.
Me da rabia la gente que no llega a tiempo. Me da rabia la gente que no llega a tiempo. Me da rabia la gente que no es puntual. Me da rabia la gente que no es puntual. Me da rabia la gente impuntual. That's another word. Me da rabia la gente impuntual. Another example. Me da rabia que hables mal de mis amigos. Me da rabia que hables mal de mis amigos. Me da rabia que hables mal de mis amigos. A él le da rabia la gente.
Let me back up a little bit. You know what this means, right? It makes me angry that
you speak bad of my friends.
you speak badly of my friends. It makes me angry that you're trash talking about my friends. It makes me mad that you say bad things about my friends. And the hables is a subjunctive, so don't worry about that. You don't need to know, how to use that at this stage.
Me da rabia que hables mal de mis amigos. A él le da rabia la gente que camina lento.
What makes him mad?
Makes him mad when
Slowly.
walk slow.
The slow walkers, the creepers through the grocery aisle. Yeah.
A él le da rabia la gente que camina lento. A él le da rabia la gente que camina lento. Alright, so you get upset, you get disappointed. It really bothers you, but you don't get mad. It's not a level of anger. Alright? And the last one, dar miedo. Dar miedo. When something te da miedo, you get scared. The feeling you get is fear. You are afraid of something. Let's say you don't like snakes. You could say, me dan miedo las serpientes.
Here you go, Tomas. What's the thing that scares me? This whole category of things. Las serpientes. And now it will be done. Okay? If I'm saying a situation makes me afraid, then it's going to be meda. All right. So what I can tell you is this: it really depends on if I've got something down here, and what I've got here is snakes. So snakes, they make me scared. And here we've got a definite thing. This is just like gustar. But with most of those other examples, it was singular, me da. That is more common because it is more common to say that whatever is happening makes you nervous, makes you angry, makes you feel scared. I mean, it's just a more common situation than saying this plural group of things scares me. But it's certainly possible.
But I have a question.
And let me get Tomas in and then I'll get you, Susana, okay?
So Marilyn, my question is, if you said, I don't like horror movies or I'm scared of horror movies, then it would be Dawn, right?
Me dan miedo las películas de horror.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sí. Okay. So horror movies scare me. Right. That'll be it. Me dan miedo las películas de horror. But driving on the 101 scares me. Manejar en la autopista 101 me da miedo. Right? Driving is just a situation. It's me da miedo. This me da miedo, me da rabia, me da nervios. When she says we use it all the time, she goes, yeah, no kidding. They do all the time. Now, you also know how to say tengo miedo, right? Tengo miedo, I'm scared. This is just really a different way of saying it, but this puts a little twist on it. Instead of saying I'm scared, tengo miedo, it's this thing produces a feeling in me. When you go back this weekend and listen to the Maria and Cody video one more time, she uses a very specific turn of phrase. Produce, la situación produce una reacción emocional. The situation produces an emotional reaction with these dot expressions. And that is exactly it. This thing produces a reaction. Susana, ¿tienes pregunta?
My question had to do with inserting cuando. And is it the same? Or should it, would you go me da miedo cuando?
If it's cuando, you've got to have da. Because now if you've got cuando, you've got a situation.
Okay, so it would be singular. I mean, it would be the da.
It'll be singular. Es buena pregunta. Once you inject a cuando, you're injecting what they call a clause, meaning it's a little sentence within a sentence, right? There are two separate sentences joined by that word cuando. Cuando is the connecting word to join those two ideas, but they're one action, one kind of verb, and another different kind of verb, and they're connected with that word cuando. Now, it makes it a little bit complicated because whatever comes in after cuando is probably going to be subjunctive. However, if you make a mistake with that, people are not going to miss a beat. They'll know what you mean.
Una pregunta.
Sí, Patricia.
Why don't you need a duh? See, to me, I would have put a miedo de las serpientes.
Oh, de serpientes. No.
No, because
oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm afraid of snakes.
Sometimes you do hear people insert the word ah.
Oh. But you don't need it then.
Yeah. Once in a while you hear somebody throw in an ah when they like talk about a human being, especially.
Okay.
You know, I'm scared of that guy or something. Sometimes you hear that. If it's a person. But otherwise, yeah, but we don't really need the of. Yeah, we don't need. Okay, because this thing gives me goo. Yeah, it produces a fear core reaction in me.
Me dan miedo las culebras. That's another word.
Synonym
me dan
for
miedo las
culebras.
serpientes. Or me da miedo viajar en avión. Me da miedo viajar en avión. A ella le da miedo salir sola de noche or por la noche. Both are correct.
It scares her to go out alone at night. Going out by herself at night just makes her scared. Okay?
A ella le da miedo.
but it gives her fear. It produces this thing of fear, miedo, deep inside of her. You know how we have that expression, it gives me the creeps? It's kind of like that. This thing gives me, but instead of it gives me the creeps, it gives me fear, it gives me nerves, it gives me this feeling
miedo
deep
salir
down.
sola de noche. A ella le da miedo salir sola de noche. A muchos niños les da miedo la oscuridad.
Ah,
Children are scared
the
of the dark.
lots of kids are scared of the dark. And you're right, we say scared of. Darkness injects fear into the hearts of little ones. Produce una emoción. It produces an emotional reaction. Okay? Les da miedo.
A muchos niños les da miedo la oscuridad. A muchos niños les da miedo la oscuridad.
So, you know, something causes fear. It's not like tengo miedo, I'm scared. Something causes fear. That's what you're expressing with le da miedo, me da miedo, te da miedo. Something causes fear. An event, a person doing something causes fear. So it's a little different twist than just saying, I'm scared. This makes me scared.
And of course, you could use all these expressions in the past, in the future, as a question or as a sentence. You could say, me dio nervios, me dio rabia, me dio miedo in the past. A ella le dio miedo salir sola.
Okay. And she's just using it in the past. And just by putting dar into preterite. And you don't need an accent mark anymore. But she was probably taught to use it with an accent mark, and then the rule changed. And those habits die a very slow death. Okay. It took me 10 years to learn to not do an accent mark over dar, because it used to have an accent mark. It doesn't anymore. Okay. Le dio miedo.
Me dio miedo viajar en avión.
It scared me to fly in a plane.
A él le dio rabia que no lo llamaras.
And that is really, that's getting into past subjunctives. So don't be concerned about the llamadas, but it made him angry that you didn't call him. He got angry that you didn't call.
A él le dio rabia que no lo llamaras. Or using the future. Me dará nervios, me dará rabia, me dará miedo.
And you don't need to know those futures, but she's just
A
showing you it
él
works with
le
all
dará
tenses.
rabia si no llegas a tiempo.
He'll
A
get
ella
angry
le
if you don't get there
dará
on time.
miedo salir sola. Or the other form of the future. Me va a dar miedo.
Now that is a future you're actually likely to use. Me va a dar miedo. It's going to scare me.
It's going to give me fear. Yeah.
Me va a dar miedo. Me va a dar miedo. It's going to scare me. But that's putting it into future. So we don't need to worry about too much yet. Okay?
Using the verb ir. Me va a dar rabia. Me va a dar nervios. All right? That's
Okay. So that's it for our dar. A different way of looking at dar. Perdón, I need to get out of my exit screen. A different way of using dar. Okay. Does that make a little more sense? Tomas, did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. So a lot of these phrases like me da igual, it's all the same to me. All things are equal to me. I have no preference one way or the other. But you know, the other ones are usually talking about an emotional reaction with that. And these are exceedingly common. But, you know, you're not going to really hear them used with doy or das or damos, because we're talking about something producing fear in me and you and whomever it is that we're talking about. Okay. Okay. Let's take another look at this. I gotta get my share up here. We're gonna take one more look at this. This is out of a bigger slide set, but this isolates just this dot part. Okay. So it's going to be done more than it's going to be done with this one verb. I will tell you that. I mean, this is just the way this one sets up, but me da, me dan, right? Usually me da, te da, le da, nos da, les da. And then you've got a noun for emotion, not an adjective, not nervioso. Okay. Not asustado, not enojado, not an adjective, but a noun. Okay. If you use a que or cuando to talk about a situation, use me da and the emotion en que. Okay, because you're saying in action, like she said, you know, me da miedo, me da le da, and she was talking about mom watching a kid riding the bike, right? Le da miedo que se caiga. It scares her that he may fall out. Okay, so now we're looking at da versus dan. Let's take a look at these. I've got my ojo here, which means watch out. Ojo means watch out, even though it means eye. Watch out, look out, careful. Check out the differences. Me dan nervios las arañas. Spiders make me nervous. And here's the example that Tomas was asking about. What if you got just a plural thing? Me dan nervios. But the nervio, dan is not dan because of nervios. Dan is plural because arañas is there. Okay? It's not nervios that makes that word dan. It's arañas that makes that word dan, because spiders are the creepy, crawly, really ugly, disgusting things that produce this feeling of, ugh. Okay? Me dan nervios las arañas. Spiders really make me nervous. But look at what happens if instead of just saying spiders, if I say when something happens. Me dan nervios cuando veo las arañas is a tiny bit different than me dan nervios las arañas. Me da nervios cuando. And here comes your question, Susana. When I inject a cuando in here, it goes into that singular form because I'm saying the whole situation of when I see them. This gives me the creeps. Me da nervios cuando veo las arañas. We're not just saying spiders make me nervous. We're saying when I see them, when I see them. It's a situation. Not just a thing of spiders, but it's a situation of, uh-oh, I saw them and they're near me. Me da nervios cuando veo las arañas. Me da nervios que hay arañas en la casa. Me da nervios que. When I inject the word que, when I inject the word cuando, now I'm talking about a new clause, a new verb added in, and it just goes into singular. Me da, me da, me da, me da. 80% of the time, it's going to be me da. It's only going to be me dan if I've got, all by its lonesome, a plural thing. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. It's a little scary, isn't it? Me da nervios usar esta expresión. It makes me nervous to use this expression, but that is the way they use it. So, you know, the key here, and maybe I'll try to go back in and see if it'll let me do it in a color, right? When I start injecting words like cuando and notice it's subject verb and que with a verb, I go back to me da, me da, me da, me da. The situation makes me feel this way.
Because
I
it's
could put in there instead of nervios, miedo. Me da miedo cuando veo las arañas. Okay, perdón.
because it's a situation, so then it's me da. You're referring to
Right.
what?
If it's a situation, if it's an action, it's me da, me da, me da, me da. Me da miedo, me da rabia, me da nervios. Okay, and those are big three. Those are emotional reactions. But you're saying this situation, it gives me this creepy feeling. It gives me fear. It strikes fear into my heart.
If you substitute nos or lace or da, nos da,
It's still da, right?
it's still da. Okay.
It's still da. It's still da. Okay. And why does putting nos in there not make it damos? Because
It's one situation.
yeah, we're not doing this. Seeing the spiders makes me feel this way, right? Having spiders inside the house makes me feel this way. It's not something we're doing that makes me feel this way. This situation, it makes me feel this way. So I could just as easily say, nos da nervios cuando vemos las arañas. Nos da nervios, le da nervios. A mi hija le da nervios ver las arañas.
And
A
Marilyn,
mi hija le da.
I would assume when you put in the cuandos or the Ks or whatever, that you could automatically expect the verb to follow.
Yeah, there's going to be some kind of a verb. If I have a cuando or a que, I'm probably going to have a verb of somebody else doing something following that. Yes.
But I could also put in more than just cuando or que. I could put in another preposition like meanwhile or something like this, right?
Well, it makes me nervous meanwhile.
Well, I wouldn't say, but
Yeah.
that sort of things. There's more than just cuando and que, right?
I can't think of one offhand. There might be. I'm not going to say never, but
Don't ever say never.
probably, yeah, but probably not likely.
What
Not
if you
super-
said
not super common?
Could you say if? It makes me nervous if.
Sure. That's one possibility. Yeah. So yeah, see, there's something else you could, yeah. But they're probably going to say cuando. They're probably going to say cuando or que. They're probably going to say one of those two. That's just the most likely pattern. Okay.
So then the expression me da igual, me da lo mismo, those are typically does, da, because it's an expression, or do they add a bunch of words onto that expression
Now,
to describe
well,
something?
okay, that can go either way. So let's take a look at that. We're going to call up a big text box here and do that. Okay.
'Cause that wasn't clear to me.
Let's look at that. Yeah. Okay. So these two things mean exactly the same. These are all expressions using da. And when she said, and when Maria said in the video last week, people use these all the time. They literally do. If you talked to people on the street, asking them how they feel about something, had people talk for 15 minutes, you'd probably get somebody use one of these expressions in a 15-minute stretch of time. It wouldn't be that hard. You'd get somebody who would use it. Okay, so me da igual is the exact same thing as really me da lo mismo. Me da igual, it gives me equal literally, me da lo mismo, it gives me the same thing. Lo mismo just means the same thing. And it's really just a way of saying it's all the same to me. It's also the same thing as saying it makes no difference to me. You might say, I'm good either way. Those are all different, and look at how many different expressions those are in English, but those all contain the same thing. You might just say, I don't care. Both, right? But me da igual means exact same things, exact same translation as me da lo mismo. And it's going to be the same thing. It might be le da igual. It's all the same to him. Le da lo mismo. It's the same to him. Nos da igual. Doesn't matter to us. Nos da lo mismo. Doesn't matter to us. Okay. You're saying it's usually said when you've got a choice of one thing or the other, and both of them are fine. Both of them are fine. It's not, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me as in, I don't care at all. It's just saying both of those choices are good with me, right? It's not, I don't care in the sense of indifference. It's, I don't care in that both of those choices, both of those options, both of those choices are fine. Do one, I'm good with that. Do the other, I'm good with that too, okay? I have no big preference. I have no big preference. Okay. Por ejemplo, español, okay. Tomamos che o Vía Linda. Me da lo mismo. I don't care which street you take. Take either one. They're both good. That's it. That's the kind of situation where somebody will use that. But it's always going to be me da. It's that, those two are always going to be me da. Always me da. Because you're talking about a situation, whatever the choice is. I'll take one, red or blue? Red. Don't care. Okay, so me da igual, me da lo mismo. It's never going to be done with those. Never, ever, ever. There's just no need for it to be. Because you're talking about a situation. Okay. Por ejemplo, puedo hablar de la política. Maybe I want to talk about politics. And politics is just la política in español. Detesto la política. Maybe you're the kind of person who hates politics because you're sick of all those ads interrupt your, you're sick of seeing all those ads. Me detesto la política, me da rabia. I find it really annoying. Yeah, it gives me anger is a little strong. That's literally what it means, but what a pain. What a pain this is. That's what you're saying. Me da rabia. Me da rabia la política. Vas a tener un bebé, me da mucha alegría. Wow, that makes me so happy. But you're seeing politics produces little baby. It produces this feeling. So think of me da as it produces this feeling in me. Hacer mucho ejercicio me da hambre. Exercising makes me really hungry. Hacer mucho ejercicio me da hambre. Right? I get the munchies. I've been biking. I've been running. I went out and ran 5 miles. I did a 10-mile hike. Wow, I am starving. Me da hambre. Me da hambre. It gives me hunger. Okay? Las personas locas que manejas en la autopista me da nervios. And you're talking about the whole situation. Crazy people, que manejan. Crazy people who drive on the highway. Crazy people that drive on the highway, that whole situation, it just makes me a bundle of nerves. Okay, so it's usually more often me da, me da, me da. Okay, whoops. And pretty soon we're going to seg to, oops. And we've got a little bit of switching verb tenses there, which we'll come back to another time. Okay, ¿tienen preguntas? You got any questions about that? Is that a little better? Un poquito mejor?
Yeah. Yeah, now on that example about being hungry, if the example was you listed several things making me hungry, then it would be me dan. Would it be?
Not if they're verbs.
Not if they're verbs, okay.
But I don't know. You know what? Probably not, because you're talking about seeing foods. Ver toda la comida. Seeing all this food. Ver toda la comida me da hambre. Wow, looking at all this food, it makes me hungry.
Okay.
Because, you know, it would not be a really common thing to say, beef and pulled pork and sausages, and they make me hungry. Probably your reaction is seeing all this food makes me hungry, right?
Right, yeah.
So, you know, you could hypothetically say, could that be plural? Yeah, but are you really going to say that, or are you going to say, wow, all this food, looking at this makes me hungry? You're more likely to say that.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
what you're more likely to say. It just is. Okay. Parecer is kind of like dar in this way. It's a little bit different from all those other verbs because parecer kind of sinks into different things. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit, and we're going to go into parecer and the different ways that you can use parecer. But I think we may cut, well, depends on how long. 10 minutos. Vamos a ver, let's see. She's going to give you different phrases for, or different ways of using parecer. And parecer is going to behave a lot like dar in that you might inject that word que, you might inject that word cuando that Susana had asked about. You might, but you might not. Okay, so we're going to take a look at those kind of situations here.
¿Cómo están? Espero que estén
And
súper.
let's cut some of the intro.
Vas a encontrar que significa to seem o to look like, ¿verdad? Así que por eso varía un poco el significado y tenemos diferentes formas en español. Vamos a ver la número 1. Cuando solamente decimos parecer, estamos queriendo decir que something looks a certain way or seems to be a certain way. Por ejemplo, you look tired. ¿Cómo dices eso? Sería pareces cansado.
Okay, now there we do use it in the traditional conjugation. Pareces cansado. Wow, you seem tired. You're just stating that you look this way. It's not a verb like dar in this sense. So this is the one verb out of this whole group of verbs like gustar that may be confusing because sometimes parecer is going to use all those forms and sometimes it's not. So we're going to see when it does and when it doesn't.
She looks sick. Ella parece enferma. ¿Sí ven?
Now, this is not, it is saying you appear this way. Your physical appearance is one of being ill, is one of being tired. You're not saying in either one of those examples, I think that. Once it switches to I think that, it seems to me, then it will be me parece que. So watch for the switch.
Otro ejemplo. Yo veo una persona, un amigo mío que está preocupado y le digo, ¿qué te pasa? Pareces preocupado.
¿Qué te pasa? What's happening to you? Ooh, there's a verb just like gustar. We didn't put it on our list, but it is. ¿Qué te pasa? Hey, what's going on with you? What's happening to you? Pareces preocupado. You seem worried. You look this way. Not I think, but you really look this way. Worried or sick or tired. Your appearance has that look to it. You seem that way.
What's going on? You look worried. ¿Sí ven? Cada vez que digamos eso, que alguien, they look worried, they look tired, they look happy, they look exhausted, lo que sea, excited, vamos a decir que parece emocionado, parece triste, parece cansado, todas esas expresiones. Vamos ahora para la número 2. Vamos a hablar de cuando decimos parecerse a.
And we're not going to. We're going to skip that.
Good.
Because that gets into a different situation. We want to just contrast these two. Pareces cansado. Wow, you seem tired.
Cuando decimos parecer que.
Now, parecer que. To seem that. Something seems a certain way.
Eso significa to seem like. Like when you say stuff like, it seems like it's going to rain. It seems like they're going to postpone the wedding. Cosas como esa, vamos a decir parecer que. Por ejemplo, parece que va a llover en la tarde.
And now she's not injecting a me. You could inject a me there. Me parece que. It seems to me, but then it makes it personal. So this will be just very impersonal. Parece que. Seems like. Looks like. Looks like it's going to rain. I could say nos parece. Seems to us like it's going to rain. It's just making it personal. That's all. Okay? But it can stand alone as parece que.
It seems like it's going to rain in the afternoon. Estás esperando a un amigo porque ibas a comer con él, pero es un poco tarde y tu amigo no ha llegado. Tú dices, it seems like he's not gonna come. Parece que él no va a venir.
Seems that he's not going to come. Looks like he's not coming. You could inject a me in there, maybe. You don't have to.
Por ejemplo, yo también puedo decir, it seems like Pedro is worried. Parece que Pedro está preocupado. See, and remember the first case, I can say, Pedro parece preocupado, right? That's like the first case. Or I can say, parece que Pedro está preocupado. ¿Qué piensan hasta ahora? Hemos visto tres usos de parecer. Déjame tu comentario abajo. Deja un comentario con alguno de estos usos y yo puedo corregirte. Número 4. Parece que, pero ponemos el me.
Now she's going to put the me in.
Principio. O sea, me parece que. Por ejemplo, me parece que Juan no es un buen novio para María. It seems to me like Juan is not a good boyfriend for María. Or it's more like saying, I think that.
It is exactly like saying, I think that. It seems to me, you're stating an opinion. So you're making that opinion a very personal expression with the me. It could just as easily be le parece que, it seems to him. If you're talking about how your dad feels about it. Nos parece que, you're talking about how we feel about it. Okay? Te parece que, you think this way about it. Your opinion is.
Juan is not a good boyfriend for her. Entonces podemos decir ese tipo de cosas también. So instead of saying parece que va a llover, we can say me parece que va a llover, me parece que is like saying I think that. Me parece que Juan no va a venir. I think that Juan is not going to come. Y vamos para la número
Okay,
5.
and I think we're gonna stop
I
it there. but
find the
just gonna-
subjunctive very complicated, or I find it easy to understand,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
or I find the subjunctive very complicated, or I find it easy to understand the structure of the language. Todo ese tipo de cosas, tú dices, no dices encuentro fácil or encuentro difícil, no. You're gonna say me parece. Por ejemplo, me parece fácil el pretérito.
And you're still saying, I think that. You're still saying it that. You're giving an opinion. How it feels for you. Me parece fácil. Wow, it seems easy to me. I think it's easy.
I find it easy. Pero me parece muy difícil el subjuntivo. I find subjunctive very difficult. ¿Sí ven? Ya saben, hay más ejemplos en el PDF. Y la última, número 6. Whenever in English you say something like, how do you like your new house? How do you like your job? How do you like the neighborhood? Eso en español es, ¿cómo te parece?
It's still asking you for your opinion. It's still asking you that same thing. But when somebody says, ¿cómo te parece? They want to know whether or not you like something. You like it? Don't like it? Good? Bad? Me da igual? All the same? Could be me da igual. All the same.
¿Cómo te parece tu nuevo trabajo? ¿Cómo te parece tu casa?
Literally, how does your new job seem to you? How does your house seem to you? But somebody's really saying, what do you think about it? Like it?
¿Cómo te parece tu nuevo barrio? Siempre, how do you like something? ¿Cómo te parece?
Yeah. So how do you like? This is a very common way of saying how you like. And people on the street, you know, if even with your food, ¿cómo te parece? ¿Cómo le parece este plato? What do you think about this dish? You know, you have like 4 or 5 bites. The waiter comes back to check. ¿Cómo le parece? How do you like it?
¿Y cuál es la respuesta a eso? Tú vas a decir, oh, I think it is good. I think it is peaceful and quiet. En ese caso vas a decir, me parece. Me parece bueno. Me parece tranquilo y agradable. ¿Sí? So instead of saying pienso que, you can say me parece. Y también en el pasado. Si tú dices algo.
And we won't get into, we're not going to wade into the weeds of el pasado. We're not going to wade into that. Okay. And that takes you one step further. So I'm hoping that that makes sense. See? Yeah?
Sí, sí.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mejor? A little bit better?
Yeah.
I
sí.
want you to go out and practice with this. We're going to take a look at, and you know, this is very free form, but I am going to want you to practice in some groups, and I will give you an opportunity as a follow-up to the small group thing to do a little recording for me about this same thing, but refine it a little bit when you do it in the recording, right? Because this is kind of like your practice. We're going to take a look at some ways of talking using this. So you might want to take a couple of notes here, just a couple of notes. So I want you to use parece and da, parece and da. Parece with a situation, and you know, maybe I should put our que in parentheses here. You know, you might use que, you might not, depende. Perdón. Okay. Yeah. But connect a situation with me da, with an emotion. connect a situation with me parece que, to talk about situations or events. Okay, and I'm going to give you 2 examples here. Me parece bien que Juan se casa con Laura. Oh, I think it's a good thing that Juan is marrying Laura. Okay. Me da nervios cuando las personas me gritan. It makes me really nervous when people yell at me. People yell at me a lot. It makes me really nervous when people yell at me. Me da nervios cuando las personas me gritan. Okay. So those are just very vague situations. Now remember, with dar, you're going to use one of these emotions, and here's where you may need to take, some notes. But me parece can kind of go all over the place. But da will go with, you're probably going to want to use one of these. Me da miedo, or le da miedo if you talk about somebody else. Da rabia. Da tristeza, sadness. Da alegría, happiness. Da nervios. And maybe da vergüenza. Da vergüenza, vergüenza is shame. So if you are humiliated by something, right? You're just embarrassed to no end. That's that word vergüenza. Literally, vergüenza is shame, which is really strong. But, the thing that, whatever it makes you, beat red with embarrassment. Okay. So I want you to just create some situations with your small groups using those ideas. So you may want to jot down miedo, rabia, tristeza, alegría. You don't have to use all of them. Pick one that you normally might use a lot. The ones that people are probably most likely to use are miedo, or rabia, or nervios, but you can use the other ones, yeah? And you'll do a little recording more formally for me over the week using those. That makes sense? Can I take this off stop share? You're still copying.
No, we haven't.
Okay. Bien. Okay. I'm going to send you out to do a little bit of practice, and you may find out when you get into practice that it's going really well or that you've got a little hitch. So we'll come back and look at that when you're done. But I want you to think of just some situations where you might normally want to talk about how something seems to you, what you think about something. Does something seem hard to you, seem easy to you, seem great to you, seem really bad to you, right? Whatever opinion you feel about it, how you think about it is me parece, right? But when something produces an emotion in you, it's da with the emotion. Da miedo, da rabia, da alegría, da nervios, however it may be. So you can use it to talk about however you feel. Yeah. And I don't want to leave you, we're going to leave you with groups. We're going to create 3 rooms. 7 minutos, 7 minutes. See? Bien?
Are you wanting us to structure a sentence using both of these things?
I want you to use parecer a little bit and da a little bit.
Oh, okay. We're not trying
Parece
to
and da.
connect
Just,
them in the same. That was confusing.
Parece and da. Parece and da.
Okay.
Don't use the other verbs, just those 2. Because these are harder than the other verbs you've used. They are harder. Okay? Bien? Okay. Remember, you're going to have to hit the join button.
Join.
Yeah. Me.
To rain. Join breakout.
There we go.
go.
Okay. Muy bien. Good. What kind of questions did you come up with in practicing that?
Susan has one.
We have a question about for using parecer que, but it has to do with saying food is too cold and a room is too hot.
Okay.
So one of the sentences was, me parece que esta comida está demasiado fría.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other one was a question. Te parece que esta sala hace mucho calor.
¿Te parece
Te
que
Que
Ah.
esta sala
Te-
hace mucho calor.
Wouldn't that be the weather? Isn't that more the
Yeah,
weather?
that's for weather.
Hace
Hace calor is for weather outdoors.
So, okay.
¿Te parece que está frío? ¿Te parece que está frío aquí? It seems like it's cold here.
So-
Yeah.
How
And-
would you say the room is too hot? You wouldn't use hace mucho
No.
calor?
No, that's with weather outside.
Okay.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it would be weather inside too. I don't.
Well, yeah.
So how would
Yeah.
you say if we were asking
Está.
the question?
Yeah.
Está mucho calor.
Yeah.
Caliente.
But you're still
Está caluroso, it's warm, está caluroso, it's warm.
Can you use caliente?
Well,
Probably not proper, but
you
strong?
could, but that's more like with food.
Okay.
You could. I mean, somebody would totally understand you with it, but caluroso is more like the air feels this way.
Okay.
Caliente is more used with food and drink. I guess that means, yeah. There you go. Okay. Buenas preguntas. ¿Hay más preguntas? ¿Tienen más preguntas, sí o no?
I wanted to say the price was too high. Me parece que el precio is it S or esta in this case?
Me parece que el precio es
Más cara?
es muy caro, que el precio es muy caro. Usually you would shorten that a lot. Me parece muy caro. It seems really expensive.
Oh, okay.
Right, just with caro, usually, because that is the shortest way of saying it. Me parece muy caro. Me parece un poco caro.
Okay.
Me parece un poco caro.
Okay.
Yeah. Bien. Okay, está bien. I would like you to do, oops, and I think we had Damas got the boot with that. Okay, I would like you to do that same thing, but do a little recording for me, just talking about various things. Would you prefer talking about just various things that matter to you, like what you think about things, or would you rather that I injected specific questions for that?
Freeform.
¿Les da igual? ¿Les da igual? I prefer that you just talk about things that, you know, what you think about stuff naturally, right? Because that's how you would talk to people. And I'll give you a little space to just talk, and the prompt will be there. It's going to be a very open prompt. And it will just let you record. Now, I think it's only going to let you record for about 1 minute. So don't be nervous that you've got to talk for a really long time. Pick maybe 3 or 4 things to talk about. And it'll be a very wide open prompt. And you'll just say that a certain thing seems a certain way to you, what you think about something, or how you feel about something, what your opinion is about something, or what kind of emotional reaction you have on something. And I'll probably give you Maria's video again in the car with Cody to listen to that again. And vale la pena, it's worth the effort to listen to that again to see how she talks about that, because you'll see she's talking about the feeling it gives her. And she used that word pereza. something made her feel bored or just blah. Yeah, just like having the blahs, me da pereza. I'm bored with that. I find it tedious, boring, don't like it. Yeah. So it's a good thing to go back and watch one more time, una vez más. And I'll have you work that a little, because these are kind of, they're easy to say, but you know, it's not the usual verb pattern. So that's why it gives us a little bit of difficulty. So I will give you the slides, and it's going to give you slides all on dar and parecer. So all those slides that we had, and plus more. These slides are also going to give you like the verbs side by side for dar, especially because more than parecer, dar will be used in a lot of different tenses. So that slide set is going to be kind of longish. It's going to talk about all the conjugations for dar and then how dar is used for, you know, in the sense like gustar. And have you go out and just talk about it a little bit. I'm also going to have you do a little reading, which is just going to be a general reading. It's going to be about cell phones. And ¿y qué más? ¿Qué más? Oh, and y las películas, the movies. The movies. Okay, moving on with those. We're getting almost to
Professora,
the sí, dime.
So that the one we did this week, the 40 question homework deal.
Oh, wow.
That was awesome.
You like
Took me
that?
about I went through it like the first 5 questions 4 different times before I figured out, oh, why what I'm doing wrong.
Okay, so I'm
And it
going to
had-
put this up on the screen, Keith. Gracias, thank you.
That little,
Okay, this is what Keith is talking about. Am I right, Keith? This is the one you're talking about?
hey,
Okay. And I'm sure it threw in like all kinds of verbs we didn't use, but you see how often there are different verbs that do this. So bastar is, okay, if somebody just says to you basta, basta, which the Italians love to use too, basta, it's just like enough already, basta, basta con eso, enough of that, right? But me basta, it's enough for me. So, me basta con oír, it's enough for me just to hear their laughter to know that they're happy. Me basta. Yeah? Me basta.
but
Yeah,
the good thing is the good thing is that depth is the explanation of the answers would really helped me, because it really drove you to that point of we're talking about a situation, a singular, so it became, oh, you're talking about a singular third person. All of a sudden the light bulb just went off and went, well, wait,
Yeah.
singular third person conjugation is falta or gusta.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
all of a sudden the light bulb went off and said, oh, this makes perfect sense all of a sudden.
And
versus
this
the
also
lay
illustrated
and
there are
the
a
rest
whole
of
bunch of other verbs that do that, not just the ones I gave you, but a whole bunch of them.
No,
that
right,
do
exactly. But it was what you were talking about earlier, is that this is talking about what you're worrying about is what's the subject that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's an it, which is a third person singular, and it has nothing to do with that lay or the may or the whatever's laying out in front of it.
Right. The le, the
really
me, the
helped me.
nos, the te, it just tells who receives that feeling or
So you
action.
don't have
Right.
right. But the subject is what you're worrying about the conjugation of the verb, be it falta or faltan,
Right.
not
And
the
cuatro
nos or the lay in
sillas,
front of it.
cuatro sillas says that the thing that's missing is 4 chairs, meaning you
chairs.
don't have enough.
So it's not that I'm worried about the 4 or the multiple of chairs. It's I'm missing some stuff.
Right. But see, when you translate it literally, it's awkward.
Correct.
The
It
English
is.
translation is awkward. So
I
me
guess my
faltan
prof-
cuatro sillas literally means 4 chairs are lacking to me. Nobody says it that way in English, but that's what it means, literally. Meaning I'm lacking 3 chairs. I am missing 3 chairs. I don't have enough, is what you're saying. And you're telling the number that you need. So this is what so this is a phrase. For example, this faltar thing is what they use really, I think more often they say necesitar. Your book that you originally went through used necesitar, to need. Okay? Necesitamos 4 sillas, somebody may say, right? We need. But really what they're going to say is this. Nos faltan 4 sillas. We're missing 4. Meaning we want more, right? It's just that we don't use this verb of lacking very much, right? Okay, here's a fun thing with faltar. Le falta un tornillo. Le falta un tornillo means he's lacking a screw. People say this, right? You see that, you know, I mean, and this is sad. I don't say this to like mock anyone, but you know, you see if you're in New York City and you see people with various ailments, like they're not quite all mentally there, right? And they're walking down the street doing strange things. People may say, oh, le falta un tornillo. They're missing a screw. They're lacking a screw. Le falta un tornillo. They're missing, you know? Yeah, but that paints a very vivid portrait, does it not?
We would say he has a screw loose.
He's got a screw loose, right? We use loose.
Yeah.
And they just say he's missing a screw. Yeah, exactly. So
my question is, do you have any more of these kinds of exercises? Because this was really a good one for me, so especially.
This is do I have another one that gives you the answers right away? I don't know, but I'll look for some.
Okay, thank you.
I'll look for some because it's a good follow-up. And I'm glad, Keith, that I didn't want to go through all of them with you because I figured you were doing that on your own. But he brings up a good point that this like gives you a reason. Mm-hmm. So literally this guy, he falls badly on me. He strikes me as a blech. I don't like him. Or to you, right? Te cae bien, te cae mal. Te cae mal ese hombre. Repugnar. Le repugna la gente mentirosa. Lying, crummy people, the liars of the world. But when it's la gente, it's singular. Lying people repulse me. They're repugnant to me. You would never say in English they're repugnant or they're repugnant to him because that sounds really super formal. But you see, like there are all kinds of, there are loads of verbs that do this. And you know, here's an easy one because we use encantar so much. A muchos niños les encantan los deportes, but it's not encantan because of niños. Les is talking about niños. Encantan is talking about deportes. Sports are delightful to the kids. And the way we wouldn't even say sports are delightful to kids. That sounds formal and weird and awkward and stunted. We would say kids love sports. But they use encantar. Okay? La biología me interesa.
Biology interesa.
Right? Literally, biology interests me, or is biology is interesting to me. And that's a little bit closer to what we do with English, right? Me atraen, right? Me atraen las mujeres inteligentes. Okay. So we've got all kinds of verbs that conviene. We've got all kinds of verbs that do this. Tons. I'll see if I probably can find one. I don't know if I only have 40, but I'm going to try to find one that gives you immediate feedback.
It's not only the feedback, but it tells you the why.
Yeah, the why.
So this was really good for the why.
I can probably find
the answer right, as well as the video that you sent out about why are accents on vowels on where they are in the words was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I agree.
The lady who was explaining, that was kind of a longish one, but that really was helpful. Do you want to do a little bit next week on the whole accent mark thing? And I mean,
Sure.
I hesitate because it's It's only important really for writing, but sometimes, again, like Keith said, you know, the light goes on. Sometimes the light goes on when you talk about that and you talk about hable versus hable. And the light goes on and, oh, that's why that's got an accent mark. And it's just that one thing where the light goes off. But if we do that thing with accent marks, it might be like a 10-minute thing. And like, I'll say words because it's really you hearing the word and knowing, does that need an accent mark or not?
Hmm.
Sometimes when you're reading things or when you're saying verbs, this comes into play, you know, especially with past tense. Hablo and hablo. Hablo and hablo are two totally worlds apart, different things. Hablo, he spoke. But the only thing you really hear is not the way the words are pronounced, but the stress on the syllable. Hablo is one thing. I'm speaking right now. Hablo, he spoke. He spoke or she spoke. It's done. It's over with. Hablo, I'm doing it right now. Or I do it right now. Hablo un poco de el alemán, un poco de francés. Hablo mucho de español. ¿Ok? Mi amigo habló en francés el año pasado. My friend spoke French a lot last year, you know, with me at a certain place in Paris. Okay. So maybe we'll incorporate a little bit of that, inject a little of that in there. Okay. Bien.
Cool.
Excelente. Me alegro. Me da mucha alegría que esto les ayudó, that this helped you guys. Okay, bien. Eso es todo. I think that's all we can do for one session. But I will send you a little bit of just a general reading, and I will want you to do a little bit of speaking for me, and I'll do a little listening eval. And I want you to think real carefully about doing your nice round vowels with all that, right? But just, yeah, I know. But the vowels, seriously, when you speak, the vowels are so much the most important sounds you do with Spanish.
When I say it in my head, it comes out right.
There you go.
No.
But those vowels are so important because English has just a range of different sounds for A, a range of different sounds for O. And so many times we inject our English pronunciation in there. And you really want to keep that pure A, the pure O, the pure U, the pure I. You want to keep that as pure as you can. Your right? And, you know, think about position of your mouth when you're pronouncing, right? Sometimes it helps to look in the mirror, you know, your mouth should be doing that. Is more closed, right? I is, you know, it's in the top of your mouth, I, but it's very short, O and U. So really work those vowels when you do your pronunciation for me. Okay, fantastico. Okay, and just focus on the da and the parece and da for your speaking for this week. And that's good because really people use this all the time. ¿Cómo te parece? What do you think about it? ¿Cómo te parece? People say that all the time.